Welcome to the Thriving Christian Artist, the podcast where we hope you connect with God to bust through the roadblocks that have held you back for years, create the work you love, and really live the life you know God created you to live as an artist in His kingdom. I'm Matt Thomas, your host. Let's get started. Well, hey there, my friend, and welcome to the Thriving Christian Artist. I'm so glad that you are with me today. And listen, I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine, Teri Johnson, who is the owner and founder of Keeping It Personal. She helps women entrepreneurs, actually, who want to really thrive in everything that they're doing, not only personally, but also in business. They've got a really neat community focus of the way they do that, and it's happening all over the country. And so, listen, she loves the Lord, and she's got a great, great story of not only helping others walk in transformation, but also she's going to be sharing her story of transformation, how she walked out of the corporate job, the corporate world. The Lord began to restore her life after struggling with alcoholism and really set her on an incredible path, not only to live a beautiful life herself, but also to help others do the same. So not only is she going to be on the podcast today, but hey, she's going to be at the Thriving Christian Artist Conference too. She's one of our speakers, one of the keynotes that's going to be there coming up March 2020. And listen, if you have not registered yet, do it. All right. We don't want you to miss this. This is there's no other conference like it in the world where we bring your art life, your spiritual life, and your business or ministry life together in one conference to get you clear on who God's called you to be, and then give you strategy from leaders, experts on how to start walking that out in your life in a really practical way. Not to mention that you're doing it the whole time with other artists who are on the same journey that you are. Artists who are serious about building their business or ministry. Artists who are serious about seeing their art be used by God to transform the world. And artists who love Jesus, who love to worship, who love to pray for each other, who love to encourage each other. That's what these weekends are about, and that's what this conference is about. So make sure that you make plans to be a part of the Thriving Christian Artist Conference. Now listen, it's in March 2020, and you think, well, gosh, that's a little bit, that may be a while away for you. You got to make plans now because it's going to fill up. All of our conferences do, and we don't want you to be stuck on the outside going, I wanted to be there, but it filled up too soon. So click the link that's in the show notes and make plans now to be a part. Reserve your seat. Invite a friend. Come with several friends. I know folks from all over the country, even internationally, that are coming with one person, two people. I even talked to somebody the other day. They're bringing their whole art group. So why not be a part of it and be a part of this incredible weekend where God's going to release some really, really great strategy for your life and your business and your art. All right. Well, listen, before we get to the interview with my friend Teri, I want to give a great shout out to one of my podcast listeners, Elle Worth, who's listening over on iTunes. And she said, someone speaking the truth to me. And they said, I've been so blessed by Matt Tommy's podcast. Some days I'm brought to a place of prayer. Some days I'm writing down things for my business plan. Some days I'm cheering, yes, Lord, at His power at work in the lives of the people being interviewed. I love that Matt is a mentor, but also a pastor, and he takes both roles seriously. So excited to have found this podcast and now this community. Well, Elle Worth, thank you so much for taking the time to leave me a note. I love that. It encourages me in a huge way. And listen, if you're sitting out there right now and you're like, well, I've never written a review before. I don't even know if I'm subscribed to the podcast yet. All you got to do is just click the subscribe button. That way, every time a new episode comes out, you'll get it on your phone. And then also, you want to make sure, click the write a review button, which if you're listening on iTunes, like Elle Worth is, you want to just scroll all the way down to the bottom of the episodes, click the write a review button and leave me a little note. And who knows, maybe you'll be the next review that I give a shout out to here on the podcast. All right. Well, listen, you're going to love this episode with my friend Teri Johnson. Be sure to click on the link in the show notes to check out her website and what she's doing after that. And then, like I said, make plans to meet her and me and all the other artists and speakers that are going to be together at the Thriving Christian Artist not podcast, but conference coming together in March 2020. It's going to be a great weekend, and I really, really want to see you there. All right. Well, hey, without further ado, here's my friend, Teri Johnson. Well, hey, everybody, I'm so glad that you're with me on the podcast today. I've got my friend Teri Johnson with me all the way from California. And Teri is not only an incredible entrepreneur in her own right, but she's my friend. And Teri, I'm so excited that you're here.
Yes, and I am happy to be your friend and been able to do life with you in business for the last year and a half or so. This has been great. So
That's right. For those of you that don't know, just getting to know Teri, we've been in a mastermind group together for a while and have been getting to do life together with a number of other folks, Paul and Melissa Pruitt, who have been on the podcast as well, Casey, who's coming on the podcast, and some others. And man, we have too much fun in that group. So
you know what? It's just, it's really powerful to bring people together who can collaborate and hold each other accountable and cheer each other on. It's super powerful. So
yeah, it is. Well, I think because for so many of us in business, you feel alone. You feel like, does anybody else understand what I'm doing? And especially in this kind of thing, where we have memberships and we have online courses and products, not only also the things we're doing in real life, as if online is not real life, but
right.
face to face. And it's great to know other people are there. So that's how we kind of developed our relationship. And it's been so wonderful to hear your story. And I wanted to have you on the podcast today for you to be able to kind of tell everybody who you are, what you do, and then also get into some real practical things that folks, especially ladies out there, because that's your passion, is working with women who want to grow their business. Just talk about some of the unique things that are facing them, and for all of us. So tell everybody who you are, what you do, and then we'll kind of get into your backstory a little bit.
Yeah. So I actually, fun fact, coming up on 10 years. Actually, today is November 1st that we're recording this. I'm not sure when this is going live, but 10 years this month, I started my company, Keeping It Personal.
Wow.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about that though, Matt, is that looking back then, if you would have said that what I would have today back then, I'd be like, oh no, you got the wrong girl. Like that, she can't do that. You know what I mean? So it's been really a fun journey. It hasn't come with a lot of rainbows and sunshine. There's been a lot of valleys.
Sure.
But you learn and you grow along the way. So I super am excited just to be where I'm at and looking forward to the next 10 years. I work with business owners, entrepreneurs, and sales professionals, primarily women. I don't have any male clients. And I help them grow their businesses. And we do that a couple ways. We have I call it the 6 M's, the success path that I take them through. The 6 things that every business owner, whether you're a man or a woman, needs to pay attention to in your business, which is obviously mindset, our messaging, market, monetize, map, and monitor. So we dive deep into all of those things, whether it's through, one-on-one or group or within our community. Those are the things that we continue to flesh out to move people forward. And then what sets us apart from some other, businesses out there is we do weave our faith into it. And I think that's one thing that resonates with us is like, we, whether you lead with that or you just are a person of faith, it doesn't matter. We have that as our firm foundation. And,
absolutely.
That's kind of where we're at. So
that's so good. Now, my story is, I was in ministry and then an artist, and then I was in marketing, and all of that kind of came together in this convergence for me where people started looking at my life and saying, how are you doing that? How do you do marketing and art and all that? And so my mentoring program and the books that I write and all that sort of came out of my journey. And I found for a lot of entrepreneurs and people that do what we do in a coaching situation, that's kind of the same sort of story, in that a lot of different things in your life kind of came together in order for you to become passionate about helping others. So how did you get into the space of even wanting to help other entrepreneurs to really start thriving in what they do?
Yeah. So I didn't even think it was a thing, actually.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So prior to 2009, when I started, I was just working, climbing the corporate ladder, I had started originally back right in my early college, right out of high school age of working for a large insurance company, had kind of worked my way up in there with sales and marketing and different things like that.
Right.
Um, and then from there became operations manager for an organization. And by the way, you said I'm all the way from California, but my roots are Minnesota.
That's right. That's right.
I just recently
Newly moved to California. That's right.
Yes, I am recently here, which I'm loving, obviously, the warm weather.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this was all back in Minnesota. But anyway, so just, my journey of, I ended up getting into sales with a large like staffing placement firm when I was, in my 20s. And then from there got into real estate and became a project manager of different things. So anyway, my point is like through that journey of working for other people and then becoming self-employed and starting my own business, it was all about climbing the corporate ladder or making money.
Right.
And my focus was on, when you grow up, you have these dreams, right? And you think of all these things that you want to do.
Right.
And what had happened in my life up until 2009 is, I was accomplishing a lot of things financially. I think from the outside, people would have thought I was very successful, but on the inside, I wasn't feeling it. I had experienced a lot of things that I never, ever thought I would experience. I had gone through a lot of personal things that got me to this rock bottom place. Unfortunately, I wasn't equipped to deal with a lot of the things that I was dealing with. They were leaving behind like lingering after effects of like shame, resentment, unforgiveness, all of those things. And I hit this rock bottom and I was escaping with alcohol. And so in 2009, I decided to choose life.
Come on.
Because I was making really poor choices, and faith had always been, I was raised, with faith, a woman of faith in the church, had always gone to church, but didn't really have that own, I didn't really identify. I was kind of riding the coattails of my family faith, if you want to say that.
Sure.
And when I hit this rock bottom, I ended up admitting myself into an inpatient treatment center just to rise above that and to say goodbye to that time in my life and to equip myself better with some tools that could help me to thrive, which is your word, right? And mine. I know we both love that word. And,
that's right.
And when I was there, I made two decisions. When I was in treatment, I made two decisions. The first one was that I was going to wake up every morning and say yes to God, because I was saying yes to everything that I thought. And I never really, unfortunately, wasn't really taught growing up that, or I missed it. I missed this message of like, God has a plan for you. And it's like, what is his will? I never really asked, like, what's your will? I just thought, okay, this is what you do. This is how you do it. And so at that point, I kind of got to this place of surrender. I'm like, okay, God, your will, not my will. And I'm going to wake up and say yes to you. What do you want me to do today? And then the second decision I made when I was there was that I wasn't going to be ashamed anymore. I wasn't going to not share my story because of what other people might think. And so I decided that no matter what, I knew that because of what I had gone through, that I could make a difference and impact the life of another person if I was authentic and I was true with who I was and where I'd been. And so coming out of that, I didn't go back. I was a part owner of a company. I did not go back to that company when I got out of treatment. I didn't really know what I was going to do. But are you familiar with Gary Vee?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I read his book, Crush It. It was right when that came out back in 2008 or 9 is when I read it in 2009. And I knew I wanted to do something different, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know what a blog was back then. Like I was totally out of it. And so, but he said, ask other people around you what you're good at, like what brings you joy, what lights you up, what other people see in you. If you're kind of trying to discover maybe something that you might want to do as far as, being an entrepreneur. And I'd always been entrepreneurial.
Because so many times we push that down, right? The thing that we love, we push to the side. That's not really something I could do, right?
Exactly. And when your belief is I got to do all these other things, then it's like, yeah, you feed something else than what you really are passionate about. And that's what I was doing. And my motives and my intentions were totally in the wrong direction.
Mm.
So I asked several people. I think I sent them all a text message back in the day, and I said, hey, if you were to describe me and just say, this is the one thing that Teri is really, really good at, what would it be? I think I asked like 8 to 10 people that.
Right.
And they all said, you're really good at helping others. And I'm like, how in the world do I make money doing that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's nice, but what am I going to do for a living, right? So.
I know. I'm like, okay, how can I get my cash register to ring doing that? Like, I love doing that and I'm really good at it, right? I've always been people's like 911 and I love helping people. Anyway, long story short, fast forward, I started keeping it personal. It started as a personal growth. I got certified as a coach. I went that route and I just started helping people. And my very first client paid me. She asked me how much I charged and I asked her how much she could afford. And that's what she paid.
And that was it.
And that was my first client. I didn't even have anything. So I just started and it's grown. That's why I say, like, if you would have asked me then if I'd be doing this now, I would have said, no, you got the wrong girl. But that's what saying yes to God looks like. And I just woke up every day and I just like, all right, God, where are we going today? Like, who can I serve? And I've always come from that place of service of like, yeah. And I love that Zig Ziglar quote. It says like, if you can help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want.
Absolutely.
And it's not a selfish thing. It's not like I'm giving to get, I'm giving to serve.
Just the way it works. Right.
And I'm going to be blessed in return. And so I try to show up like that every single day with my clients, with anybody, whether it's a stranger, and bless the socks off of other people. And it's just evolved over time. So it started with the personal development. I ended up writing a book called Overcoming the Nevers. That came out in 2011. And I've hosted women's conferences. In 2014 is when I transitioned into the personal and professional and really started helping women grow their businesses.
Where do you find because your story and my story are both so much about dealing with the inside stuff, the heart stuff, the mind stuff. And then once we allowed the Lord to heal those places and begin to move into the next phase of our life, that's really where the momentum, starts to come. Where do you find for most people, and maybe even specifically most women, where's the disconnect for them with dealing with things in their heart and mind, and then having this mindset over here that, oh yeah, and then this is my business, or for us, this is my art. This is the thing that I do. So many people separate those. Why do you think that is? And what's one of the nuggets that you use to help people really, step into that place of convergence where they are able to give everything to the Lord and walk in a place of real momentum in their life?
Right. Well, first of all, we're one person. And so it's like kind of like that. When I wake up in the morning, I'm the mom, I'm the wife, I'm a believer. I love the Lord. I also have a business and I'm all these things, right? We can't separate it. Now, we don't have to like wear it on our sleeve or whatever and tell everybody about it, but we're the hands and feet of Jesus, right? If we're a person of faith. And so my suggestion and what I tell everyone is just bring him up, whether it's the first thing in the morning, bring him into your day. I invite him, like even before us getting together today, I'm like, all right, Lord, like, what do you want us to talk about? Like, may your words be my words. Before you go into a conversation, before you start planning something, just invite him into the equation, bring him up into every single thing that you do, because every good thing comes from him. Every blessing that we have, we're breathing because of him. Yeah. Right. And so when we can, like, if we look at the order and if we understand, like, if we keep the main thing, how can we not keep him the main thing in our business if he's the main thing in our life? That's right. That's right. And so I always just remember that, like, okay, I am nothing without you and everything because of you. Like, okay, Lord, this is your business. That's right. What direction do you want us to go? And regardless if we're sharing that, because not everybody talks about this in their daily business, and that's okay. It's not for everybody. but you doesn't mean that you can't be that in your heart and with your thoughts and in your, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
you're
Position
feeling,
from
yeah,
which you live from. So I know
right.
speaking of main things, I know one of your main things that you're passionate about in your business is community,
Right.
because none of us are designed to walk this thing alone. And I think especially just like we alluded to at the beginning, being a business owner, especially when when you are the owner, you're it. And so many people out there that are listening to this podcast, maybe you're an artist, you're a solopreneur, you're trying to do it all yourself, or maybe you have a small team, a virtual assistant, or a part-time studio assistant, or maybe your spouse or a kid or somebody at church is helping you do your business. But talk about how community, I can talk about community all day long. I mean, I see it do so many things, not only from a spiritual perspective, but also just from a mastermind and momentum perspective in our life. It allows us to receive from others, give to others. It allows it to be that life force that God can use in our life. But talk about how, you're so passionate about community, and you've really based your business on
Yeah.
community. I mean, if anybody's
Sure.
100% in community, it's you guys. And so talk
Yeah.
about that and how beautiful that is.
Yeah. So when I started, I was solo, like a lot of people, right? I didn't have anybody. I remember it was so funny. I put on this women's conference in 2012, and I was a solo entrepreneur, and I had I think it was like 200 women that came. I think I had like 20 speakers. We were at this big venue. And I showed up that morning with everything, and I didn't have anyone to help me. I mean, legit, I didn't have an event planner. I didn't have an assistant.
I got nothing.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I've done this all on my own. And I was like, I need somebody to help me with the registration table. Like, I can't be all things to all people. And I,
Exactly.
at the last minute, invited people to volunteer. Anyway,
Oh,
I
I give
learned
you the opportunity to help me right now.
yes, right now, rise and shine. Yeah. But it's so funny because at that point, after that event is when I decided, wow, these women, everyone is connected. Everyone's connected everywhere. Like, we're connected on all these social media platforms. I have thousands of friends if you look on Facebook,
Yeah.
but nobody's really connecting. Like, how many times have you gone to a public place? Like, totally don't tell me this hasn't happened to you. You've gone to a public place, you've had your shopping cart, and you see somebody and you're friends with them on Facebook, but you would never even say hi to them in the store.
Yeah.
I mean, this happened to me. How embarrassing. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh, I know them, but I don't know them. Like,
Right.
why are we connected if we're really not connected? And so, and I realized at that point, because so many people after this conference were like, when are you going to do this again? And I was like, are you kidding me? This was a lot of work by myself. I don't think I'm ever going to do this again. But anyway, I ended up doing it again a couple years later. But after that, it was called the Refine Conference. And after that, after those two large events is what sparked my community of the Refine community, where I bring women, business owners, entrepreneurs, and sales professionals who are like-minded Christian faith-based women together. We meet on a monthly basis. We meet in person we have 10 in-person locations. We have 2 virtual locations across the country. My goal is to be in every state at some point, in person across the country, because I love to bring people together where they're really connecting, and not your traditional networking event, not where you're throwing around an elevator pitch. We don't do that.
Right.
We literally connect. We come alongside you. We hear you. And then we want to teach you and help move you forward, bring you forward as a community. So that is like the foundation of our business right now. And we're growing, and we're super passionate about just going deeper with our members. And then organically, we're going to grow wider as we keep continuing, and not just surface, not just Facebook friend level. But hey, we really care about you and your business.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about all things. You had an epic fail this morning with your kid before you dropped them off, and now you're here and you feel like a failure as a mom. Let's talk about it, because we've all been there.
Yeah, sure.
And it's not just like coming up and putting on your A game. We talk about showing your B side, like this backside of who you are. And we bring it, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. We accept you. And so our tagline is come as you are, take your next steps with purpose. and we're there with you. So that has been amazing. I think our members love the connection. They look forward to our gatherings every single month, and because it's different, it's unique, and I think it's a lost piece for a lot of people, especially if you are working from home or you're in a an environment where it is so surface.
Right.
It's just a nice place to be, feel safe, and just be like, oh, okay, now I can breathe and take my mask off, you know?
Yeah, I know so many artists. We hear it in the mentoring program and in our Thriving Christian Artists Facebook group. So many of them, are in rural areas or in churches, maybe where they're the only artists, or they feel like nobody gets them. And it's funny because, I started our mentoring program about 3 years ago, and the initial number the Lord gave me was 2,000 members, and so we've been believing toward that and growing toward that. And as we begin to kind of hit a critical mass, I was like, Lord, what is it? How can we serve people in a way that is going to serve them well, but also, go toward the goal that you've given us, of helping that many people. And one of the things he said, you got to care for the people. And I was like, well, how do we do that? And we started virtual small groups. We call them mastermind groups on on Skype, because we got people all over the world. And it has been the most incredible thing to watch, in that virtual environment. People, once or twice a month, be able to share their heart with other artists, 5 other artists, over Skype, and share the things that are going on in their life, get prayer. I think for all of us, whether you're doing it virtually, whether you're doing it like you in a meeting, at a live event, or whatever it is, we were made for community. We were made to walk this thing together. And I think I'm just convinced that as we grow in the kingdom and in what the Lord has for us, that so many times the next thing that we need in our life is in the mouth or in the hand of somebody that we're about to meet or that we have met, that God is using and intersecting our lives with people. Because it's not just about the stuff. It's not just about performance and production and that sort of stuff, but it's about relationship and receiving life from each other in the kingdom. And I think for those of us that do bring a kingdom perspective into what we're doing in business, community, and being able to honor the gift in one another and receive from one another, like you said, in the good times and the challenging times, is so foundational for all of us. So
and it's so easy to not do it. Like, I'll give you an example. There are always stumbling blocks, and there's women that'll be like, I almost didn't come this month or whatever, because there's so many things, my to-do list is so long. But then they get there and they're like, I can't imagine not coming. Like, it's just that reconfirmation, because it, like, the world is noisy, and getting back into working on your business instead of in your business. Right. So we need to take a step back. Like, I love the fact that you're doing those virtual masterminds, because again, you're inviting people to take some time to collaborate with other people to work on their business. Instead of in the trenches all the time. That's what these things do for us. Like, so community, like the networking, the masterminding, collaboration with other people, it allows us to get outside of our day-to-day stuff, get our cup filled, think of things with a new perspective. And you never know what is on the other side of a meaningful conversation with somebody. And we don't take enough time to do that,
Absolutely.
So I love it.
Well, speaking of pulling away, I'm so excited that you are going to be one of our awesome speakers at the Thriving Christian Artists Conference coming up March 2020, right here outside Asheville, North Carolina. And guys, listen, if you're listening to this, you're watching this on YouTube or listening to the podcast or whatever, you got to be there, because there's no other conference in the world that's bringing your art, your faith, and your business all together in an environment with people who love Jesus, want to grow as an artist, see their work be used by God to transform the world and grow a business or a ministry. And Teri, I'm so excited you're going to be there, because, I'm every time I look at, like, I'm looking right now as we're recording this at all the speakers. I've got a sign right here, and I'm like, this is going to be so freaking awesome. I mean, it's going to be such an incredible weekend. So one of the things that you talk about a lot, and you did a module for this in our mentoring program, last year, was talking about time management. And I know when people are thinking about, well, going to a conference, I got so much going on, and I'll just listen to the podcast or whatever. And they're thinking, why should I come to a conference? I'm reminded of the things that you talk about and you say that are the two big things that really stop people, but as roadblocks in their life. One is time management and one is overwhelm. And I'm thinking so many people that need to be at Thriving Christian Artists and need to be doing these kind of community oriented things, their time management may be kind of jacked up. They're saying yes to everything and no to anything. And that causes a lot of overwhelm in their life. So what would you say to somebody who's wanting to take that next step, who's wanting to invest in community, maybe even thinking about coming to the conference, but really does not know how to get out of the overwhelm that they feel themselves in right now?
Right. So a couple things contribute to that, right? One is we're not clear. So we're wearing all these hats. Like seriously, we wake up and we put, depending on what time of day it is, we put a different hat on, So if you can imagine, like I wake up, I put maybe my mom hat on, I get my kids off to school, and then I put this hat on, and then I put whatever all day long. But in each of those hats, we're not clear about who we even want to be in those hats. Like, and I know it's like people spend a lot of time writing like a business plan. Like, this is where I want my business to go.
Right.
But if you were to take a step back and look at every single hat you wear and almost write like a little mission statement for each of those hats, what it does is it helps you strengthen your yes and no muscles. Okay, so the clarity is what causes the overwhelm. The lack of clarity causes overwhelm, right? And then because we say yes to the things that our heart is screaming no to, because we're not clear, then we struggle with time management because we have too many things going on.
Absolutely.
and ultimately what that produces is procrastination. Really? Because we're like, I don't even know where to start. I'm so confused. And so what I always teach people to do and help them do is unpack that whole entire process. And that is something that I'm going to be, that is really what the basis of my whole talk is at your conference, which I'm super excited about. Let me just backtrack. One other reason why I'm excited about your conference, just so you know, is the way that you have it set up where we all as speakers are going to be there.
That's right.
The whole time. So this isn't something where you said that, and I'm excited to learn from other people and meet the amazing people that are going to be coming. We're not like, your speakers aren't like these untouchables.
Right.
Like we're going to be there. Yes, we're like in this with you. Yes, we might know something about a topic and can help you in a really big way, but we're also going to be consuming. We're going to be there to talk and help and cheer you on and also connect. So I am super excited about that too, because that's not very common with a lot of great conferences.
Yeah, we love to have a family atmosphere. We just finished our Gathering of Artisans conference, and at the end of every one of these conferences, I mean, it's going on all the time, but at the end, we do what we call a fire tunnel, where we line up the whole staff, all the teachers from the conference, and we run every person that attended through that tunnel, and we lay hands on them, we pray for them, we hug their necks. People are messy crying. I mean, it's great.
I love it.
It's an awesome weekend because we want people to know, hey, we're in this thing with you. We love you. We're not just wanting you to come to some event. We are linking arms with you for the long haul to walk this thing out. And it's so good. It's so good.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I would say like lack of clarity. You guys, it's so funny. Like everyone that I talk to, they're like, I don't even know what my next step is, or I'm not sure, I'm confused about this, or I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm like, well, what's your plan? Or what are your goals? Where do you want to be at the end of the month? And it's like a deer in headlights. And so often that's why like coming to a place like this, to a conference, taking that time back, say, okay, for the next few days, I'm working on my business. I'm getting my cup filled. And then here's the one thing that I always tell people to do when they go to a conference, because it gets like a fire hose a lot, right?
Sure.
Figure out what you want before you go, like what you hope to expect and walk away with.
Yeah.
And then like, I always just have a piece of paper from every talk that I hear. And I always just say, okay, from that talk, what's one thing that was my biggest takeaway? So I might take a whole bunch of notes, but then I always have one sheet that says, okay, what's my primary action step? I just invested X amount of time listening to this one person or this keynote or this discussion or whatever. what's the one thing I can take from that
That's
that
so
will,
good.
yeah. And so that is the one thing. So when you are at a place like that, again, it goes back to time management. We can't do it all, because when you leave there, you want to take your next steps. You don't want it just to be like something, oh, I checked the box and I'm going to go back to crazy again.
Right. Exactly.
You actually want that to be a great return on your investment. And so you can do that by just taking one piece and then reflecting on that one piece of paper at the end and saying, okay, from this, let's prioritize.
I love it.
What's most important. So just another little time management tool, and to get a great return on your investment.
I love that. I had a business coach one time tell me a similar thing. He's like, after every session, he said, go back through and put a little light bulb around your aha moments, or, whatever it is, or circle it or something, so that you can have some sort of, track to run on when you get back. And
absolutely,
I look at the things that I'm doing now in my life, and I can look back 5 years, 10 years at things that I wrote down at a conference, or, like we're getting ready to go to Jeff Walker's LaunchCon here in a couple of weeks. And I look back at my notebooks from years ago, going to those and hearing other people that were doing things online. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it now. I'm actually doing this. That's really incredible, but you have to have a track to run on. So I love that verse too, where it says, without vision, the people perish, which means essentially without revelation, you cast off restraint. And I think I see so many people when they don't have a vision for who God has designed them to be, what he's called them to do in their life and their business and their art, then they cast off restraint. They just run around with a chicken with their head cut off, saying yes to everything, no boundaries in their life. And a conference like this and just walking in intentional community with people can really begin to be the game changer. In fact, we were talking as a team the other day, the people who come to these kind of events and then you watch them 6 months, a year later, those are where all of our incredible stories come from, because there's something that the Lord does, I think, this launching thing or this ignition thing that begins to happen in people's heart when they can get together with others and be inspired and be motivated to say, all right, I've been doing life like this, previously, but it's going to change from here on out. And I just love that. I can't wait for you to be with us and everybody. And listen, if you're listening to the podcast right now, make sure click the link that's in the podcast notes right now. We want to make sure that you get an opportunity to be there. This event is going to fill up like all of our events do, and so we don't want you to miss that. So, Teri, I know people are going to want to connect with you, further on Facebook, Instagram, on your website. So, where's the best place that they can connect with you before they meet you at the conference?
Sure. It's just keepingitpersonal.com is my website. So awesome. Keepingitpersonal.com. Can't wait to meet you at the conference. If you listen to this and you see me there, make sure you come over and tell me and introduce yourself, because I love to meet new people. And if I can encourage you in any way, I'm all for it.
Absolutely. Well, Teri Johnson with Keeping It Personal, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks so much for spending a few minutes with me today on the podcast. Listen, I hope it's been a huge encouragement to you on your journey as an artist. Hey, also, before you leave, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the other episodes of the Thriving Christian Artist podcast. And also, be sure to connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, or at my website, which is matttommymentoring.com. Until next time, remember, you were created to thrive. Bye-bye.